My name's Rebecca Long. I am Associate Curator of European Art before 1800 at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, which is where we are today. And I'm a 1997 graduate of Hempfield High School. Oddly enough, even though I work in an art museum now, I didn't ever take art classes. There was never enough time, but I did some sports as well, track and field, and I was a manager for the swim team for a while, but I did band and marching band and chorus. I took Spanish beginning in 8th grade, and then I took all the way through AP, which actually has served me well. Language skills are part of what you need to be an art museum curator, so it was a good foundation. When I got to the University of Pittsburgh as a freshman, I was going to major in pharmacy, which is a 6-year program. I got to a point, I think my second year in college, where the classes were just getting harder and harder, and I had always been kind of lucky in school. It was relatively easy to do well, and I was getting to the point where I was working really hard and not seeing that kind of success, and I was just kind of one of those moments where you're like, oh, maybe this is not the thing for me. And I had taken this art history class as a general requirement, and I loved it. It was a really energetic and interesting professor who had taught it, which is, I think, what got me in. It was a survey of the Italian Renaissance, and so I started thinking about changing my major at that point. I've been here for almost 6 years. I never did work in a museum, actually, before I got here. This is actually my first museum experience, which is unusual in the field. It's actually the #1 thing that I always recommend when I talk to students is you should get an internship. My job at the museum as a curator involves the development, care, and presentation of the collection. Part of my job is doing research on that artwork and just really filling out our knowledge gaps about it, publishing on the collection, books and articles, and then presenting it in the galleries in a way that's educational and writing all of the interpretation. My experience with just taking a random gen ed requirement class that ended up being what I wanted to do as a career, I think, is maybe not so unusual if you kind of open yourself up to the idea of trying a subject area that you might not have thought of. We see it in the museum all the time. I mean, the curators are only a small portion, the art historians are only a small portion of the staff here. We have accountant and finance who took art history classes as an undergrad alongside with his business classes and then decided he wanted to work in a finance department at a museum. So there's a lot of opportunities that are not the most obvious career path that you might be open to if you try some of those subjects that are a little outside of the box.